Hey everyone, welcome to our first online Earthworks class. I'm really bummed that we can't meet like we normally get to at the Outdoor Discovery Center, but I am really grateful and excited that we get to meet in this way, so thanks for tuning in. And today we are going to be continuing our lesson that we started a few weeks ago about fast fashion and consumption. And we will be making these different woven and braided and knotted strands so that we can create large-scale installations like the artist Sarah Kolar. So let's get started. For today's lesson, you're going to need scissors, and then you're also going to need fabric that you can cut up. A few weeks ago we cut up t-shirts, but you're welcome to also cut up old sheets, different types of linens that you have around your home that you would be getting rid of anyway. And then you're also going to need a dowel. In our case, we are using a paintbrush, but you may also use a wooden spoon, a pencil, anything that you'll be able to attach fabric to knot it, braid it, and tie it. So a few weeks ago, we talked about the fast fashion industry and its effect on the environment and on people. And we learned some pretty shocking facts. We learned that the fast fashion industry affects our world and our people. It is second only to oil as the world's largest polluter. The production at the current scale that we have is pushing our natural systems to the limit. The fast fashion industry emits 1.2 billion tons of CO2 emissions each year. This is about 5% of global emissions, and it's responsible for producing 20% of global wastewater. And we make 63% of the clothes that we wear from petrochemicals, and these affect our waters and our oceans. And when it comes to people, the fast fashion industry produces 90% of our clothes overseas. And 40 million people who work in the garment industry today work under dangerous conditions in the fast fashion industry, and they work long hours for very low pay. So this affects both our world and our neighbors, both globally and locally. We're going to be looking at a variety of knots today. Just like in Sarah Kolar's work, she kind of weaves and knots different things together. We're going to be creating 3 different ways of putting fabric together with a Larks head knot, a loop knot, and with braiding. In order to begin a Larks head knot, you'll want 2 of your strands of fabric looped right next to one another. Make sure they're pretty even, and then you're going to take your dowel and put it right on top. From there, what you want to do is take the end of your, or rather the ends of your strip of fabric and pull them through. And this will attach them to the dowel so that you can begin weaving. And you'll do this with the other one. Now I know that we have been all about social distancing, but you want these knots to actually go right next to each other. And then what you're going to do is make sure that these are lying flat. You're going to create almost like the number 4. See how that works? And then you'll put the sort of little end or leg of that underneath the far right strip of fabric. And then you're going to do the same with the other side. So you're going to do that, but you're going to actually go underneath all of these and pull it up through. So it will look like this. It looks kind of like a jumbled mess right now. But then you'll pull that through and you just pull and it creates a knot. Now you can make this as loose as you would like. You can also tighten it. As you've noticed in Sarah Kolar's work, she keeps hers pretty loose, but a variety is also very pretty. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do the same exact thing, but on the opposite side. And you'll keep alternating that way. So you have your backwards 4, put it underneath the far left strand, and then you take the far left strand and put it underneath all of the strands. Pull it up through that loop, and it creates a second knot. Repeat the process, and soon enough you will have a fuller strand of knots for your lark head knot. The next pattern that we're going to explore is a braid. Many of you have probably done a braid before. we are making it a little thicker than normal by doubling up, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. So just like on our last knot, the Larks head knot, you're going to want to put, actually this time, 3 strands of fabric next to each other, and same deal. You're going to loop through to attach each time so that they are attached firmly to your dowel. Don't forget what I said about social distancing. You can come closer. And then you're going to treat each one of these like one strand of the braid. So for those of you who have not braided before, the way that a braid works is you take the outside strand on one side, put it over the middle, and then under the next, and then the same sort of deal, over the middle, which now is this one, and under the next, and you continue braiding that way. Pull it through each time. Many of you have probably braided hair or braided friendship bracelets. The beauty of doubling up like this just means that it creates a thicker braid. So our final pattern today is a common loop knot. And many of you have probably tied a knot before like this. You know, you tie that way when you tie your shoes, but the way that you can keep repeating it is unique. What you will need is one long strip of fabric, and you will loop it, almost like the breast cancer ribbon or something. Yeah, you'll loop it much like the breast cancer ribbon, and then what you'll do is you'll put the loop, this end through in a loop, underneath through that loop, and you just pull. And then you kind of pull this down a little to make the loop smaller, and you repeat that. So you pull that up and through, and there's another knot. You can kind of keep monitoring the size of that. Pull that down and through and up. Now the beauty of this is once you get the hang of it, you can move pretty quickly. And you can make an entire string of loop knots, not noop lots, loop knots very quickly. And then to round out your loop knots, you finish with a common knot by just pulling that through. And then you have an entire line of loop knots. Once you have tried either or all of the Larks head knot, the braid, and the loop knot, just remember that you can put them together, tie them together, and create a large-scale web of sorts, much like Sarah Kolar's. And this can be as big as your bedroom or as small as the top of your table. Play with scale, have fun with it. As Sarah Kolar said, actions define the routes our lives take. Our routes are interconnected with everyone else's routes in strange and unpredictable ways. I find myself curious about the individuals who create the products that make my everyday life manageable. Many products today are assembled by machines. However, there are always human traces, components, and decisions embedded within every product. So some food for thought in light of that quote. Think about how you consume and why your consumption choices matter. And some ways that you can make wise consumption choices is just being mindful. So thinking about buying ethically sourcing your clothes or things that you use. Another option, if you're like me, is to buy secondhand. Buy things that have already been consumed one time and can continue in their life cycle. And then always, lastly, make art. Your voice matters, and your creative voice on these issues is a really important way to share your perspective with the world. So always, always, always be creating. Next week, we will be looking at the life cycle and symbolism of leaves, and we'll be kind of checking in with our own emotions and moods during this really bizarre time. And we will be looking at the art form of Zen tangles. Zen tangles sort of help us focus our emotions and check in with ourselves, and we will be creating with leaves. So we'll see you next time.